Hey, all you Warhammer players, welcome to the YAWP. And today you have me, Jeremy, all day 40K, and with me is my co-host, Joey. What's going on, Joey?
Hey, not too much, man.
Good to hear it, good to hear it.
Hanging out.
Yeah, that's right. Now, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to get into some Deamons today, because they're doing some exciting stuff. They're a little scary in the meta right now in some flavors. And we've got some cool, surprising results. But before we jump into that, let's have our update in terms of what we're doing now, what we're working on. And I am still working on my 6 Outriders. I have finished one of them, which is exciting. Everything else is base coded, but I have finished one. He's got, all I have to do is put some satin on him, and he'll be good.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, super jacked. Just about done, because they're interesting. I think they're kind of fun in the meta as it is, so we'll see how it goes. And then, you know what? I do need help figuring out whether I should go and hunt down a Samael, like an old one, a Finecast one, or just convert one from like a Custodes bike and some stuff.
I think I'm definitely I'm all for the convert a Custodes bike or something like that. The Samael model is just unbelievably old. I don't know exactly. I know he's still Finecast, and if I'm not mistaken, he was one of the specifically failcast things that was a pewter sculpt that they just poured resin into instead of actually a Finecast model.
Ew, that's disgusting.
Because he's been around longer than I've played this game, and there's so much potential for him with the story, and it's just not shown in that model at all.
Okay, all right. I'll probably convert one then. It just seems to make more sense. Okay, so it's a cool conversion. Like the front of Samael's bike specifically is very, very dope, but I could live with a Custodes bike. They look cool. Okay. You've convinced me. Other than that, I do have some of the Dark Angels bikes coming. I've won a cheap eBay auction for $40 for
always
8 or 9 bikes.
Always a good time.
Yeah, we'll just see how well stripping them is going to go. They're in a state, so that's going to suck because they're all, I believe, Finecast. So,
for Dark Angels bikes,
I think maybe they looked like it, but. Hopefully they're plastic.
They shouldn't be. And I could be super wrong, but I don't think Raven Wing Command Squads, I don't think those have ever been Finecast.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, I'll be very, very happy. But anyway, that's all my hobby stuff going on. What about you, man? What you working on?
Yeah, so right now, I actually spent a little bit of time today priming and base coding a little bit of MCP, but more importantly, a little bit of guard. So getting a little bit of paint on these guys, trying to figure some stuff out there. But I also spent this past weekend and then released on Tuesday, I did a Codex tier list for Eldar over on my teammates' YouTube channel called Best Wargaming. So you can see me over there. My teammates Colton and Taylor. If you guys want to go check them out, they would really appreciate it. I know I would as well. You can hear my hot and maybe incorrect, but highly personal opinions on Eldar.
Excellent. Yes, go check out The Best Wargaming. That way we can just go ahead and share and continue to grow, our own little, network of content creators. That'd be cool, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody, we're all just here to have a good time and talk about the game that we love. So just support each other, and I hope you guys support them.
Yeah, go check them out. Okay. And you said you got some guard painted, a little bit of painting done. How? I know you want to get to playing them soon. What percentage-wise are you to your list that you want to get going?
Percentage-wise towards the list that we will talk about later is, I would say, probably somewhere 60 to 75% battle ready. It's definitely not where I want it to be, but like getting 10 points at my, at an event, like we're pretty close.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to hear about it once we get there. All right. But before that, let's jump into the main topic, of course, which is the fact that the demons are here. And mostly, and I'm sure everybody at this stage, especially if you're listening to this, has heard about the Legion of Excess. So we're going to get into that in details. But there's some cool surprises along the way. But before we do that, we're talking to somebody, Joey, you, of course. You've been playing demons for a while. You've put them on stream successfully and done some really cool stuff at big events. So what is it about demons that just make them a good army in general?
So I think they kind of they have really everything, right? It's the same reason I think what drives like the diehard Chaos Demon players, what drives them to play demons is the same thing that drives people like yourself to play Space Marines. Mm-hmm. They have all the options. They are capable of doing all of the things. At a certain point, they might be better at doing some parts of the game than other parts of the game, but they always have options. They're always capable of playing the game however it needs to be played, and existing in a world where pretty much the entire, other than very close, a very high percentage of their index, and I assume what will be the codex, has deep strike just everywhere. And then on top of that, you've got invuls, so you're not worried about AP and armor saves. And there is something just kind of fun about, and it's the same. Night Haunt players in Age of Sigmar have the same sort of sick satisfaction. There's just something fun about asking your opponent what their AP is and then reminding them that you have an invul and you don't actually care.
Okay. These are all really good. These are great points, really, when it comes down to it. I really thought the love for demons just came for an obsession with bad data sheets that are overcosted, because that's how Marines feel most of the time.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I think so. It's a very different relationship, I think, that demons have between their points and their data sheets that Space Marines have, where Space Marines, you do definitely have plenty of data sheets that are lacking in ability. Yes. And you definitely have some things that are overcosted. You have some things that are, I would say a lot of your stuff is pretty accurate. But some of your stuff, especially some of your cooler stuff, is definitely overcosted. But what saves you, which up until this point, so up until the Grobmus detachments, when it was just demonic incursion, what saved Space Marines that was not saving demons is that you had a good army rule to fall back on.
That's true. Oath of Moment is great.
So Oath of Moment is great, and they made it worse, and then they made it better, and they're figuring it out. And unfortunately for demons with Shadow of Chaos, they are working on it, and they are testing it, and they are figuring it out, but they're doing it with other armies.
Yes.
So definitely. Like Necrons have their power matrix, and Grey Knights have their hallowed ground, and they're doing the same basic concept that they have for demons, but they're giving it to other people instead of trying to figure it out on the front end.
I think demons will get tuned up pretty nicely come Codex, just because these detachments that you have gotten are so interesting for the most part that I'm weirdly, I'm getting to the point where I'm having faith in GW's like competitive design process, which is,
man, you're gonna stir some trouble with that.
It feels weird, man, but like they immediately made like Sisters were really strong, yeah, but at no point were they like crazy problematic, right? Sure, they suck to play into. But
then in this edition,
yes, like the first couple months of 10th edition was like gross, right? And then
sure, and you learned how to play in 10th edition, correct?
Ninth, end of 9th.
Okay, so did you ever play against like Height of Power Bloody Rose in 9th edition?
I did not, actually. So I came in with Yeah, nothing. I couldn't. I didn't really know what was crazy strong until the
That's fair.
Space Marine revamp at the end of ninth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fair.
So, but 10th edition has like ever since they hired Josh Roberts to really come in and like change things. I have a weird.
Yeah, there's been a very
faith. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can go back and because obviously they didn't like announce that he had been hired or anything. There wasn't like a big press release or whatever, and there's no reason for there to be. But
No.
I think you can go back and look at the balance data sheets and the codexes and the field manuals and things like that, and you can probably get a good grasp of roughly when he was hired.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pretty considerable attempt at balance difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Their whole team, the competitive balance team in general, they're very receptive to feedback. They're willing to listen to us bitch and moan, which is great.
Absolutely.
And they produce good things. Anyway, that's very tangential to what we're getting into. Demons are good because 4-up involves are really fun, and their units are cool. So let's get into the big scary, right? Let's talk about the Legion of Excess.
Sure.
The Legion of Excess is, of course, the Slanesh detachment. It's big, it's purple, it's angry. It runs real fast and does a ton of damage. Can you tell us what are the units that we need to look out for and the combinations that are really scary?
Yeah, so I think upon like looking at it at first, there's some combinations that I see that I assume or would have assumed would be the things that have been spammed. And digging more into it, it's actually not necessarily the case. But what is mostly being used to like the highest effect is things that we're like already used to seeing. So it's Keepers of Secrets, Shalaxi, things like that. It's Monster Mash. It's just purple instead of rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
And the detachment rule is you have two rules. So you have fallback and charge for whatever that's worth. If you happen to need to fall back for some reason,
Sure.
then you can fall back. And then you have seductive gambits on your Slanesh units, which is after you charge, you can give up the ability to fight first, meaning it's an ongoing combat. Your opponent will fight you first. But what you will gain is full rerolls to hit and wound. And so you go in, you can jump on a unit that either hey, here's my 6 fiends, and these guys aren't going to kill 6 fiends, or my Keeper of Secrets, you go, here it is, you're not going to kill my Keeper of Secrets. Or what actually happens, what I'm finding is happening pretty commonly, the big, scary Death Star units, these legitimately talented Slanesh players are going in with both, and they'll go, here's my fiends, and also here's a Keeper of Secrets, and I'm going to seductive gambit with one or both of them, and you're going to have to pick which one you can deal with if you can deal with either of them.
Okay. And
then
are they utilizing the stratagem bit to fend off if they try to go after the fiends or what?
Absolutely, yeah. So the stratagem, for those that don't know, Thieves of Pain is 1 CP. It's usable in any phase. It's after a Slanesh unit, excluding monsters, so we can't do it to the Keeper. So we're doing it to fiends. Pretty much only fiends are the viable target, or the target that you would care to keep around enough to use this on.
Yeah, everything else you either can't cast it on, or it's just
you just don't care,
right? Yeah.
And so you pick your unit, and you pick another friendly Slanesh unit within 12. They don't have to be in line of sight. They don't have to holy. It's just a model is within 12 inches of one of your models. And then every time one of your models would lose a wound, then the second selected unit takes a mortal wound instead. And so what we're seeing is people take the Contorted Epitome, who leads Demonettes, and then gives Demonettes a 4-up Feel No Pain against psychic attacks and also mortal wounds. So the strat conveniently turns the attacks that you are doing into mortal wounds, which the Demonettes then have a 4-up Feel No Pain against.
Okay,
So
so
obviously,
you
I mean,
have
good news, you can only have 10. There are no 20 demon strong units anymore, but it
mhm,
is still unbelievably effective provided that you are rolling an average amount of 4-ups.
yeah. As long as you have the average 4-ups with the with their feel no pains, like what you have to knock through roughly 20 wounds in order to actually get through that squad, right?
Yeah, so the demonettes are 1 wound apiece. There's 10 of them. And then let me look at the
The math
contorted
should be
epitome here.
16 to 20, right?
The contorted epitome is definitely not. It's not a monster. It's not that crazy.
Okay. I
Here
mean,
it
they're
is.
running feel no
Eight
pains against the
wounds.
mortals, right?
Right. So you have
Oh,
18. You have 18 wounds with a 4-up feel no pain. So effectively, you have 36 wounds to get through
oh, that's disgusting. Okay. Okay.
before you start hurting the fiends.
Oh boy. Um, Almost any unit's going to have a crazy amount of time trying to get through that. So, okay, so that's like a crazy combination, and that alone, built in with the speed, makes them absurdly powerful and strong. So, I guess the next question is how do we actually, what do you think we do or Games Workshop does to fix this? Because you don't want to break it, you don't want to put them like
Right.
knock so deep into the dirt that they can't run these cool combinations with fiends and mask and having the keeper nearby and doing dirty work. They still need to be able to do that, but how do you fix it so that they can't just make the game unfun for the other player without
Sure.
throwing them up, yeeting
Yeah.
them off the cliff, you know?
Right. And it is a weird balance. As much as it hurts me to say it as a previous demon player and continual demon lover,
Mm-hmm.
Keeper of Secrets is probably too cheap.
Okay.
A vanilla Keeper of Secrets is move 14, toughness 10, 18 wounds, 4-up invul, and if you give them a shield, they can have a 5-up feel no pain.
That's gross.
And they're -1 to hit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they improve the AP of Slaanesh units within 6, which includes themselves, obviously, because they are friendly. And so you've got, and they're not like super deadly necessarily on their own. They're regular. Their sword is only strength 8, and their claws are only strength 6. But this detachment conveniently does give them a +1 to
Full
wound strat.
rerolls. Yeah.
But you can also just have full rerolls. And on that kind of defensive profile, you don't necessarily need to fight first. And you can, as a good player, if you're setting it up correctly, you're making these charges in and engaging with these units strategically enough that unless the world falls apart, then we're not, you're not killing my keeper between the -1 to hit and the invul and the feel no pain and whatever the case is. And so you can just go, well, I'll just take my rerolls and we'll just go from there.
Yeah.
And you're getting all that for 290 points,
That's
which
okay. That's really good.
is just very, 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 very cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And I am extremely hesitant to suggest that they get more expensive because that's just the easiest way to ruin demons, and it's been done in the past. Is that they just increase the points, and then all of a sudden the army is just actually not playable anymore.
Right.
And we've kind of seen that with Shalaxi as she's been increased 3 times to 425 points now, and you can get, I mean, good lord, a Wraith Knight with Ghostglaive in the new codex is 420. It's 5 points cheaper than Shalaxi is.
That's wild. Okay.
It's just it's crazy. And yeah, and then fiends are pretty strong in
Yeah. I mean,
they were
there's just
they were
both
already
units have dev wounds, right?
the Keeper of Secrets extra attack has dev wounds, the
Okay.
sword does not.
Okay.
But the fiends are 5 attacks per model and it's dev wounds, yes.
Okay. So you have 30 attacks, full hit rerolls to hit rerolls, full wound rerolls. So you're going to be knocking through at least 6 dev wounds, if not
Well,
more.
they're 2 damage as well.
Okay, so you're looking at putting through 10 to 20 dev wounds with full rerolls.
Right. And then on top of that, you whatever isn't a dev wound, you still have at AP2 or AP3 if they're next to a keeper.
And that's crazy.
Right.
That's
and
a little too
that's
much.
That's coming in at 105 for 3 or 210 for 6. And they're T5 with 4 wounds and they're beasts.
Yeah. So they can run through walls. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredible profile, and I don't know what the right point cost would be, but I do think that is almost certainly way too cheap.
Yeah, I think you can get away with increasing the fiend cost for sure. I don't think keepers need to go up. They're crazy strong. Don't get me wrong, but like people should have some crazy strong stuff, and around 290 I think makes sense for that because it's like Satan or Catan adjacent.
Right.
I think it boils down
a lot
to
of that
strat.
stuff you can look at. Yeah, the strat is pretty crazy, but I think a lot of that you look at where you compare them to other things that are 290 points, and you think, "Wow, this keeper does so much more than this Space Marine unit."
Right.
But the argument there is that Space Marine unit should probably come down. So
exactly, yeah. Like generally speaking, like I understand Gilliman is really good, but 345 points is a lot. Anyway,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. But if we take that stratagem and reduce the range and require visibility, I think that helps a lot of stuff.
I think it's one or the other, right? I think you could reduce it to like 9 or 6.
Yeah.
Or the really weird number that GW likes, which is 8.
Yes, very oddly
for
in
whatever
random places.
Reason.
Yeah.
I think 9 would be fine. Or you could keep it at 12 and then require line of sight.
Yeah, I think visibility. I would lean visibility, and from the other like opinions of the big guys out there, they also kind of lean in that direction as well. So I do believe that visibility is the key to helping fix that army, and then just raise keepers, make it so that you can't bring as many, and give demons something.
You mean fiends?
Well, I just mean in general, like let demons have something strong,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they very much they should have things that are strong. I want every army to be strong.
Yeah.
I just don't want anything to be broken. And I don't think that this is broken. I mean we are looking at a 68% win rate, but I think a lot of that honestly, after research, I think a lot of that comes from the people that are playing this and winning events, not just the people that are playing it, but the people that are playing this army, this detachment, and winning events are legitimately very, very good players. And then, these aren't just newbies coming in, oh, I bought some Slanesh and now I'm winning events. And we've had that problem before, not with this army, but we've had it. That's not what's happening. And I think a lot of that is it's a mix of it's very good players playing something that they understand, and it's a meta and an opponent base that doesn't know, one, what the detachment is capable of, and two, how to play against it.
Yeah. We're going to talk about how to deal with these detachments, like all really demons when it comes down to it at the end here. But I was listening to Stat Check the other day, and they were talking about how the Legion of Excess crushes mid to low tables. It's absurd. Absolutely. The win rate, and then it's still a little too high at the top tables. Like it's 58% at the top labels or at the top tables, which is problematic because at the top tables it should almost be almost a 50 across the board.
Right. Well, because that's the goal, right? Is GW doesn't want anything higher than, is it 55?
55, yeah.
Yeah, so 58 is just a little wrong.
Right.
I would argue that 58 is in the realm that is fixable and not broken. If it was 68 at the top tables, then there would be a very clear problem.
Yeah, but to quote, I believe the winner of LGT, because I think this list won LGT, He straight up came out and said, "This list is broken. I had no practice games on it, and I crushed this tournament. There was at no point did I sweat."
Yeah.
So it's kind of wild, but it's neither here nor there. GW will address it, and I have faith in that. Hopefully not too hard. Let's move on to the next detachment. It's green, it's mean, it's obscene. It's the Plague Legion, and it's coming in at like a 58% win rate, which is,
it's coming in surprisingly strong.
Yeah, I'm very surprised by this. Why? What's going on? The army rule or the detachment rule is suck.
The detachment rule is suck. It's extra battle shock, and people kind of sit. I think the player base, or rather the competitive player base, is divided on where they sit on battle shock as to whether or not it's an awful rule, or that it does nothing, or that it's great, or it's too strong, or whatever. But that's all it is. You can pick a unit that's in your shadow each command phase, and they have to take a battle shock test. It's not a negative anything. It's just a unit. They're just taking a battle shock.
Yeah.
Which is whatever, right? But the good thing that we're seeing, or the thing that is pushing this to this level of the, healthy, I would say healthy 58. If we're looking at an overall 58%, I think that's pretty good.
It is, yeah.
And so what we're seeing that come from is that the Nurgle data sheets, at least in durability, are the best ones that exist in that index. And previously they didn't have really any ways to do damage, and this detachment, between stratagems and enhancements and the like, they're giving them ways to do damage without taking away any of the resiliency that they already had. And so we're seeing these units and this army that has always been tough, but is now also capable of killing, because we've discovered through the inception of 10th edition that just being tough and existing is not enough to win this game anymore.
Right. Yeah, and that's all the Nurgle stuff really was missing, was the ability to do any damage, because they have all of the best utility models amongst the Demon Codex for the most part. Because you have your Nurglings, you have the dudes who the dudes who sticky objectives. What are they called?
The Plague Bearers. That's your battle line, right? And
their battle line. They're tough. Like they're T5, 2 wounds with an invuln, right?
I think they're 1 wound, but they do definitely have an invuln.
Yeah, like I hate dealing with those things.
They're very good. They're very strong.
Then of course there's Guos and Radagus, and you just have so many things that deal debuffs, and so many things that just don't die easily. And you're putting yourself into a position. Yeah, it's amazing.
I think it may not be the best, as I haven't really looked in and read every single and evaluated all of the enhancements, but just off the cuff, one of the most interesting and potentially one of the best, I think, enhancements that the detachment has is Font of Spores. It's 20 points. It goes on a monster, so it's going to go on a Guo or a Demon Prince. It's going to go on a Guo.
Yeah.
It's 20 points, and it gives them the Keeper of Secrets aura. It's a 6-inch aura of +1 AP.
Oh, that's so good.
That's huge.
It's so good.
Wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Okay.
They have a strat that they crit on 5s, and it's so strong, because I don't know how much you've looked at the actual damage that Nurgle is not capable of.
It's sad. Yeah.
Yeah, a great and clean one, his big ass sword that this model throws over his head is only strength 8. It's only AP 2, and it's D6 damage.
Oh,
and you're
so good.
Just sad all the time, and at least a single extra pip of AP goes so far.
It really does. It really puts into perspective why armies like Sisters and whatnot just got so strong, was because they were just able to stack AP reduction or AP increases.
Yeah.
And then Y units that like ignore cover and whatnot, and abilities are at such a high priority right now. And they just get it. And on not only do they just get it, but they get it on top of something that just doesn't really die very easily, which is
Exactly.
awesome for the detachment. So,
and I will go ahead and correct myself. And you were right. Plague Bears are T5 with 2 wounds.
ooh, let's go. Yeah, I remember shooting at them and being sad. So
just incredibly strong. And the Demon Prince on foot gives stealth.
Oh, juicy. Oh yeah, because that's like is that a 9-inch or a 6-inch aura?
I believe it's 6. I'm gonna check, but I believe it's 6.
Yeah, Demon Princes are shockingly good in a lot of detachments.
Correct. Yeah, but it is 6 inches, yes, and toughness 10, 10 wounds, 2 up save, 4 up invul. It's still a monster. It gives stealth within 6, and then once per game, he can have a 3 up invul to be extra fun. And he's Nurgle, so he's actually toughness 11.
Oh, okay, that's so strong.
Exactly right. Like the good data sheets exist, and it's just they haven't had
they just needed a
they haven't
boost.
had the pieces necessary. Exactly, they needed a damage boost, and they got it.
Good. I'm glad for the Nurgle players, because of all the demon factions out there that I've seen, the most committed group are generally the Green Boys, at least that I find.
That's fair,
because they're just
so.
Yeah,
they're exactly what they should be. They're just happy to be here, man.
Yeah. Not to mention, every tournament we have so many followers of Nurgle, they just don't realize they are. That is shit talking the smell of some players.
They just haven't accepted it yet.
No, they don't realize it. Just like the Space Marines when they fell, right?
That's it.
Okay, so Plague Legion is interesting, even with a suspect detachment rule, but they got the bonuses they needed to do enough damage to rely on their survivability and actually do what Nurgle's supposed to do, which that's cool. Yeah. Let's jump into the next detachment, the Rocksteady, the original, the demonic incursion. What we have been seeing since the beginning of 10th edition, the I take all the stuff and do all the things a little bit detachment. Why is it still good when you have all this other stuff? Because it's coming in at almost a perfect 50%.
It is, and it's just that's just the ability to have the comfort to say, I'm gonna take the various pieces that I need to play whatever missions exist at the tournament that you're going to look at a tournament, look at their mission pack, their terrain pack, and go, okay, these are the things that I need to play these missions and to win these games. And then to just do it and have, everything is deep strike. So you're doing actions all over the place and everything has the potential for a 6-inch deep strike. And so you're doing actions even easier. It's just good. It's just a good ability that is clearly, it's what it should be. It's fair. It's 50%.
Is this the only detachment among the demon detachments that effectively runs Monster Mash?
No, I think Legion of Excess is very much Monster Mash right now, and then it's just supported by Fiends and Demonettes and Seekers because the monsters are so cheap.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I wanted to, and obviously it's probably not as efficient, but if I wanted to, I could take a Bloodthirster and a Guo into the Legion of Excess.
So unfortunately, yes.
Weird.
There's nothing in these Grotmist detachments that stop you, even though they are God specific and they are named after and flavored after and only work for the one God. There's nothing in them that is stopping you from taking non-affiliated demons. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But and that might be the fix. If these Legion of Excess aren't stacking the -1 to hit that you get from Nurglings, then maybe that helps. I'm not sure, but I don't think that we should be able to. If you're going to give God-specific rules,
Detachments.
you should lock them somewhere, right?
Yeah. I'm actually curious what they do with the Demon Codex in general, because what they currently have feels like the Demon Codex as it is. You have five detachments, and one representing each god, and then one that has all of them. And I'm like, what else do you do?
So the concern right now is that there's not going to be a Demon Codex, and obviously we don't know, and there's nothing. There's nothing official, but we do know that all of the Slaanesh datasheets are going to be in the Emperor's Children Codex.
Oh.
So, and then which leads us to believe that World Eaters and Thousand Sons and Death Guard, who are also coming out this year, are going to do the exact same thing.
Oh. Well, so you guys are getting death watched.
Potentially. And so if that's happened, right? If that happens and we say, oh, you want to play Slaanesh? Cool, go buy the Emperor's Children Codex. If they exist, if the 4 gods exist in the 4 codexes, do they need their own codex?
They shouldn't at that stage.
Exactly, right? And from a balance standpoint, I would agree that no, they don't need their own codex. From a happiness standpoint, I still want one. And I think that taking away a Demon's Codex is going to feel really bad. Like, that sucks. They've been around.
Maybe a supplement? Just a chaos supplement? Because then it's kind of like Space Marines, where all the little guys get 3 detachments or whatever. So, like, Dark Angels have 3.
Yeah, because what are you going to do if... Where's Be'lakor going to go? Are you going to put him in... Are you going to reprint the Chaos Space Marine Codex and put him in there?
That's a great question.
So, I don't know. It's speculation. Obviously, we don't know anything right now. They could just be putting it in there because all of those armies have rules to play demons, and they're just saying, much like we saw with Eldar and Drukhari with the Ynnari units, where they're just like, hey, here's the things that you can take. And so, maybe that's what's happening, and we'll still get a Demon Codex, and it's just the way the GW is going to balance these things. So they go, hey, we're seeing great success from Slaanesh demons in Emperor's Children, but they can balance that data sheet instead of having to ruin demons because allies exist, which we've already seen happen this edition.
Yeah.
Where demons have been nerfed because they were taken as allies, not because they were winning.
No, but because Nurglings are strong.
Exactly.
Can demons soup in CSM?
So you can. Okay. They just have a very weird and wonky rule. But yes, you can.
Oh, fascinating. Okay, cool. I was going to decry some amount of unfairness where you're not able to.
So it's just that you have to take one battle line that is aligned to the god of whatever non-battle line unit you want to take.
Interesting.
So if you're
that's right.
If you're playing CSM and you want to bring a keeper, you have to bring demonettes, and then you can get a keeper.
Okay, but if I'm playing Slaanesh, can I soup in some Emperor's Children then? Or
it doesn't work the other way around.
Okay, that was my question. Can demons soup in CSM was what I was aiming for. So you can't bring in like some random Space Marines into your demon list. Okay. That's unfair. I don't like that. Okay.
They've tried it. They've tried it in the past, and I'm sure that they will, because it's a thing that they like doing, and they'll give us the whatever they choose to call it this time, and it'll be Be'lakor's dudes, and he'll take some number of CSM stuff.
Exactly. Like, why not let them take Vindicators, Just bring them on.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into the next Legion, which is the Scintillating Legion. This one is fun. They're naked. They're nasty. I'm trying to figure out more words with N, but I can't. Okay. Cool, interesting, fascinating detachment. And what's really cool is, like, you can watch. So I was watching a game on Art of War with Eldari versus the Scintillating Legion, and Quentin destroyed Nick. And I was like, oh, that's so sad. But then you look at the winner of Adelaide,
Now,
Matt
now,
Morasoli.
who was playing who? Who was
It
playing
was
what?
Nick was playing Deamons and Quentin was playing Eldar.
Okay.
Yeah. Just smashed him, and it was hilarious to watch. Like, Nick could give it up. He was like, "Oh god." But then you have Matt Morasoli crushing Adelaide, which is the LVO of Australia, with the same list more or less, and obviously he's very dedicated to that specific, the Tzeentch Deamons.
Sure.
But I look at this and I hear about it, and it sounds fascinating because the army rule is crazy, where it's just like, I have tokens, and they give me rerolls, and then once I use them, now my opponent gets rerolls, right?
Right. It feels so Age of Sigmar to me, which isn't a bad thing. I love Age of Sigmar. It's just, it feels like it's one of those rules that you look at and you're like, man, this is like silly and fun, but it's also good. And that's just not a design space that 40K does very often. So
That's good. And I mean, they're coming in with like a 47% win rate right now, which is really cool, because it is such a fluffy detachment. But that reroll, and considering you focus on laser chickens as like your major unit, you have your 4-up invuln on them. And with a reroll, every 4-up invuln has a 75% chance to pass, right?
Effectively.
So
yeah.
You have an extremely tough set of units. You are lacking in damage profiles, to be totally fair. Like, laser chickens can do some work, and there's a thing you could do with the Demon Prince that is super gross.
Sure.
But with an enhancement. But outside of that, it's just like control. You throw in some pink horrors. You throw in some other stuff too, obviously. But this detachment is just fascinating. And if you guys really, really want
it's
some
so
like,
cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. And if you want like a really good detailed explanation of it, Art of War podcast, guys, Nick interviewed Matt Morasoli, and it's a really, really good interview. But what about the detachment do you like, buddy?
So I will say, looking through it again, I mean, it's already good, right? We're getting rerolls. We're looking at hit, wound, damage, save. What I didn't notice the first time I read it, and what I'm looking at now, and what is hilarious just because of instances that have happened in games involving myself against some of my teammates, that it allows you to reroll hazardous tests.
Oh.
Which is kind of cute.
That is unique. Because there's nothing else that lets you do that, right?
You can reroll hazardous tests on a command point, but that doesn't feel worth it.
No, never.
And so just off the bat, I think that's actually kind of cool, because I have seen chickens all but kill themselves.
Yeah,
and that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good.
Never.
You can, what I think is incredible, because flamers are one of my favorite units in the index, in the army, in the shooting or the fight phase. It is unfortunately 2 CP.
Oh, yes.
But I think it's probably fair. So it's shooting or fight phase. Yeah, pyrogenesis. Shooting or fight phase, a Tzeentch unit until the end of the phase. It's +2 strength. But if you use a flux token, it's +3 strength and +1 AP.
Okay. And what do you combine that with? What do you think?
I mean, just off the top of my head, I just think about flamers, where they're already good. I mean, flamers not exalted. Here we go. Flamers are 4/1/1, and so without a flux token, you're looking at 6/1/1. And they are torrent, and they do ignore cover, so the AP actually matters. And if you use a flux token, they're now AP2 and ignoring cover and strength 7. Strength 7 AP2 flamers is terrifying.
That sounds really good. That sounds like it kills most things.
But you can also stack it where the Karos gives a strength bonus to shooting. So he gives a strength bonus to the chickens, and then you could just use it on them and push them even further. And so these laser chickens are becoming, I'm going to say, Death Star chickens.
Yes. Yes. It's so good.
And that's wild.
Now, what if you slapped pyrogenesis onto your demon prince with Neverblade?
Yeah. Which is unreal. Right?
I believe you're at AP 4 or 5 at that point.
Well, yeah, so that is... So the Neverblade is +2 strength, +2 AP, right? And then it is also +1 to hit for some reason.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It's +2 strength, +1 attack and AP, and then +1 to hit. And so... I do believe we're going to find out, but I'm pretty sure that you are correct.
With pyrogenesis, you push him up to 13 strength with AP 5, I think.
So let's look. So
or
the
4.
prince by himself, first off, what does Zinch give him? It gets +3 attacks on his cannon. We don't care about that. That's not what we're here for.
No one gives a
shit. We're here for the sword. So the sword is strength 8, AP 2, 3 damage with 6 attacks. So it's going to 7 attacks. It's going to strength 10. It's going to AP 3. And then you pyrogenesis with a token, and it's going to, strength 13 and AP 4. Damage 3.
Oh my god.
With 7 attacks, hitting on 2s and rerolling 1s because of the Neverblade.
So it feels so. The coolest thing about the Scintillating Legion, it's so thematic, because when you're playing Thousand Suns, it's the same thing. You're just building up and setting up and then unleashing these devastating attacks at the right time. It's not just run at somebody and do all this work. It is set up and actually then do work with utility to get you there. And so
it's set
cool.
up and surgically do work, which is just exactly what it should be. And so also looking here really quick, I don't think in Scintillating Legion, I don't think you take the Demon Prince on foot. You take the Demon Prince on foot in the Plague Legion because you get stealth, right?
Oh yeah.
But the Demon Prince with wings can, once per battle, do the Chaos Lord thing and get +3 attacks.
Oh, yeah. And that's your pyrogenesis move and literally kills whatever he touches. The only trouble, he does lose that pip of toughness.
Sure, but but he also gains movement.
That's true. You're right.
And you're looking at 13 attacks on the turn that you choose to do it, or whatever. 13
attacks, and then you use his Harbinger of Death, right? Harbinger of Death, where he gets sustained hits, or is this a different Demon Prince of Things?
No, that is the right one. Yeah. Sustained, lethal, or precision.
Yeah. And because the strength is so high, you just go sustained every time. That's so gross.
He's so cool.
Yeah, it's great. Like, it's a cool detachment. I hope more people play it. Because it looks fun. And you can't cheese the detachment rule, right? Like, as long as your opponent has one, you will at least generate the one, right?
Exactly, yeah. In your command phase, so, because that's the deal, right, is you've got your tokens. If I use it, you get it. And then when you use it, I get it back. But you can't cheese me out of it by not using them. If you have a token in my command phase, I will get one.
Right.
So it is only one, but you can't stop me from having none.
Okay. That's cool. It is a cool detachment. I really hope it sees more play. But let's move on to the worst, the redheaded stepchild.
Heyo.
The Blood Legion. It is bringing up the rear with a 43% win rate, which is officially in the toilet. And it's kind of like World Eaters, but bad, right?
Yes.
So what do you think is missing?
I'm so tempted, and I will say for the audience here that we share a Google Doc, so we can both see where we're at when we're clicking on this thing. And literally what is typed here is what's missing, and I'm very tempted just to type everything. I am not, but I think the biggest thing that's missing is, barring the Blood Crushers and Flesh Hounds, every other unit that is Khorne specific is overcosted, and in most cases, I think wildly.
Yes.
And so you do have two abilities for your detachment. One of them is all but useless, and one of them is decent. You can, if you kill your opponent off of an objective that they controlled previously, then you sticky it, which is cool. It gives Khorne primary play that they otherwise can't afford. But even with that, I still don't think, and clearly with 43%, they're so overcosted that they don't have enough pieces to continue to play the game.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Also, not having Angron sucks, because that guy is, if only, right?
Yeah,
if only you could bring him.
But, I mean, you've got Scarbrand.
It's true, but he's not Angron.
Well, he also can't fly, so...
Wait.
That's his.
Scarbrand
That's
doesn't
his
fly?
fault. No, Scarbrand doesn't fly. His wings don't work.
What a nerd.
He's an 8-inch move, and he does not have the fly keyword. Never has.
That is so sad. Oh,
it's
no.
the lore. It's the lore. So it's the whole, he was the best bloodthirster, and he thought that he could beat Khorne, so he tried to sneak up behind him, and he jumped to try and kill Khorne, and Khorne grabbed him and then threw him across the warp, and it ripped his wings apart, and he can't fly anymore.
Interesting. Okay.
So.
Fascinating. Okay, so the data sheets aren't very good. They're way too expensive, and they lack fundamental utility units for the most part.
Yeah, and unfortunately, while the enhancements and the stratagems are objectively good, it's giving Khorne units what they already had, which is damage output.
Right.
And so where the Plague Legion was giving Nurgle the thing that they didn't have and the thing that they needed,
right,
the Legion of Blood or Blood Legion is just giving them more of something that they already have, and not giving them the thing that they need.
Yeah, so they need stuff to do things, not stuff to kill stuff, because their stuff already kills stuff, is more or less what it comes down to, right?
That's the hope, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they'll address it, and at least hopefully they address it in some degree. But what are the cool things in the Blood Legion that you could run? And I know we're both big fans of this unit, but please reveal what it is.
Oh, man. Are you talking about Blood Crushers?
Blood Crushers. Charge mortals, horses, demon horses, whatever they are.
Demon rhinos, sir.
Oh, okay, sorry.
They're
demon
so
rhinos.
cool. They're so cool. One of my teammates, Chris, actually consistently to this day, and we started playing beginning of 9th edition, him and I started playing together, and he likes to joke that this unit didn't actually exist, and that I brought it into existence because I just played it. And that he was like, this isn't real. These things aren't real, because he had just never seen anybody use them before. But they're so cool. They're blood letters on the back of juggernauts. And I mean, they're tough. They're T7, they're 4 wounds. They have 4 of invul. They're not overcosted. They're one of the 2 Khorne units that I believe are not overcosted. They're 110 points for 3 dudes. It's not bad. I think most armies, even just defensively, you're looking at 10-inch move, T7, 4-up save, 4 wounds, 4-up invul. So
that's really good for
12 T7, 4-up invul wounds for 110 points, I think, is a unit most armies are willing to pay for.
Yeah, easily. It's
the
that's
downside
certainly
is
well costed.
Yeah, their downside is that they're mounted, and that's potentially the most detrimental keyword that exists right now.
It's not good, but let me let me pose you this one. What if into Eldar 18 Blood Crushers?
I don't hate it. I liked
I mean,
18 Blood Crushers before. I liked 18 Blood Crushers in Demonic Incursion. We've seen it.
yeah.
Some of the best demon players in the world have been playing that the past handful of months and doing very well with it. And I liked it already. I think it's super cool. And it is very, very hard hitting. It's just that gamble of, I hope I hit you hard enough that you don't have enough pieces left to kill me, because if you do, I won't play the game anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, think about it though, because like the one thing Eldari doesn't kill very well, except for like one detachment, is mounted stuff, because they have a ton of anti-vehicle, they have a ton of anti-infantry, right? But who has it? And they have the one option for choosing, mounted as their target, and that's too bad, so sad if you run into that. But you're fast, so you can get it on top of them, which they hate. You do enough damage between charge mortals and your melee that you just rip through those units. If the Eldari meta takes off, I feel like you might see a rise in mounted armies. It's a personal opinion. I could be way off on this.
I think it is it's a very interesting place to start theory crafting lists, especially if you think like your local meta is going to start being Eldar focused. Then I don't see why not. You may as well give them the thing that they're worst at killing. And it doesn't mean that they're bad at killing it, right? They have options.
Yeah,
but
of course.
it is the thing. It's the thing that they don't most easily kill.
Yeah, because right now, if they walk into the meta as it is, the vehicle meta, because it's a very vehicle-centric meta.
Yeah,
Eldari just
vehicle
crushes.
and elite infantry.
Yeah, because the Wraith list or anything that wants to bring Warwalkers, any amount of Bright Lances just destroys vehicles, right?
Warwalkers are dog shit.
Oh, that's right. They got nerfed to the ground, which...
Warwalkers suck. Anybody can fight me. Warwalkers are awful.
they're paying for the first 18 months of the edition because they have been so good for so long.
Yeah, and they're getting replaced by Wraith Lords, which for me is way fucking cooler, so I don't care.
They are better and so cheap. Okay. All right. I looked at the price of a Redemptor Dreadnought earlier today and was sad.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's the discussion about the detachments. Let's jump into dealing with demons in general. Now, I feel that the most important rule for dealing with demons is redundancy. So lots of attacks, lots of lethal attacks, and dev wounds in general are just good into an army that has a 50% chance to save, right?
Right. And even if they don't, at worst, they have a 33% chance, right? Because a lot of your stuff, your non-monster stuff is a 5-up for the most part.
Yeah.
But that's still so good in a random game. Just looking at, a lot of people look at 5-up and they're like, oh, it's not good. But if you just stop and think about the math as what it should be, which is average, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's very, very strong. And I really don't think it really anything changes. I think the way that we answer demons and the way that you deal with a demon meta, if you find yourself walking into that, is exactly the way that we always have, which is just a bunch of attacks. And
all the guns.
Unfortunately, all the guns. And unfortunately, I think that like the best armies right now are already equipped to do that.
It's true.
It's just that those players and those people just need to know and need more experience into playing demons, which they haven't had because people haven't been playing them.
Yep. Ooh, I just thought of like the worst possible unit for almost any demon, and that's the veteran the veteran stern guards. Because they'll throw down, I don't know, 20-something wounds into a big monster. Yeah, that's gross. Okay. Just a million shots. Okay, so how do you deal with? How would you go about dealing with, say, the Legion of Excess?
I think you screen as best as you can, and you try. And it's similar. I think it's similar to the way that you play against like the warden spam custodies. You need to bait out their feel no pains and then hit them after that. And it's the same concept, right? You need to bait out that stratagem. You need to bait out the whatever pain, the feel no pain strat that they're going to put on the fiends. You need to bait that out and get the demonettes dead so that it's not a factor anymore, and then you can kill the fiends. Because once the fiends don't have that feel no pain, they're gonna die.
Right.
They're not tough. They're only tough because of that stratagem.
Okay. Quick question. When you use that stratagem, does it target the unit that you're attacking or the demonettes?
Technically both.
Okay, so that being said, a Vectora might be one of those things that, if as long as you have it nearby, that could really put the...
I mean, I think that Vectoras have always been strong, and that's not... I really don't see that changing anytime soon.
Okay, all right.
Especially, I mean, you're looking at an army that really doesn't generate extra CP.
Right.
So
and needs it to survive. Okay.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think taking away.
Yeah.
Here comes the Drukhari meta.
I'm ready.
Okay. A very important tool that I think everybody... I know it's really hard to get, guys, but a tape measure is really important for dealing with these melee pressure armies.
It's true.
If you have access... Go ahead.
Some people... You can even get measuring devices.
Oh.
And you can put them on the table in front of units and leave them there.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Amazing. I heard they were once in olden times called rulers.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Yardsticks, as some might. That might be too big, but you get it.
Yeah. Just in general, guys, also have a conversation with your opponent as well. How fast does that move? Okay, cool. It moves 12 inches and you can advance a charge. Great. Okay. So 18 inches and then potentially 12 on top of that. You have a 30-inch threat range. As long as your unit is 30.1 away, it quite literally cannot charge you. So obviously you don't always have to put yourself in that position, but just be aware, guys, of max movement so that you're not caught off guard by something silly. So talk with your opponent about that stuff, right?
And it's so simple. It's so simple because mistakes happen. And as much as we want it to be, this is not a precise game, but it's so simple to look at it and go, hey, how far can that move? Yes, you can advance and charge. Okay, great. So again, you have a 30-inch threat range. I'm going to put my unit right here. So you need whatever the case is, a 9-inch charge, a 10-inch charge, whatever it is. So when the time comes and they go, all right, I'm going to charge. Oh, it looks like a 7. You go, oh, that's not actually possible. We talked about this already.
Yeah. Have that conversation with your opponent because you're like, okay, they got there. We know the distance. We already discussed it.
And then if it happens, right? Like if you go, hey, how far can Lilith move? And you measure it out and she gets close to you and you reactive move and you go, great, it's a 10-inch charge. And if they roll a 12, man, they roll a 12. That happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you have a set of Deathwing Knights on the table, set up so that charge is nearly impossible to hit and you still get charged and lose the Deathwing Knights anyway.
And sometimes that's just the dice, man.
Sometimes it's just the dice. Anyway, also, if let's say you run into one of those opponents who isn't great at, talking, isn't willing to share information regularly, there are tools out there called 39k.pro where you can access all the currently published data sheets and whatnot and like a nice, easy format on your phone. So as long as you have the internet connection, you can do that. There's also Wahapedia, of course.
Sure.
But it should be a conversation with your opponent, and they're going to ask you stuff. You ask them stuff. Just be open to communicating details about your army to them.
Yeah, none of the information that exists in their army is private.
Nope.
Everything is open knowledge. The same with yours. So you don't need. I've seen it a lot in newer players that they'll be very hesitant to ask questions, or they'll feel bad about it, and they think that they're being annoying, or that maybe they're going to come off as like being a dick if they ask too many questions. But if you ask a question, your opponent's obligated to tell you. And if they're not giving you the answers that you are asking for, if you're asking a specific question and they are not giving you that answer, and you call a judge over, you're not to get an answer. You're not being a dick. They are.
Yep.
So don't be afraid. Just ask a question.
Yeah. Also, I almost always preface my opponents, especially in the big tournaments. I'm like, guys, or homie, I'm going to ask you the same question 38 times this game. I'm sorry in advance if that bothers you, but I'm not going to remember your rules. I have a hard enough time remembering my own, right? So just set the expectation. It's a really good rule in life. Set expectations with people, and you'll have a good time with them, generally.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we talked about screening. We talked about lots of attacks. We talked about tools and resources and conversing with your opponent. What about armies that, let's just say I have some armies on the shelf. What are some armies that you would recommend to go into Deamons? Let's say they were, taking over the meta.
Yeah. I mean, I think certain flavors, certain flavors, not flamers, goodness. Certain flavors of Necrons are exceptionally well equipped to deal with demons. They always have been. You've got Guard, which were already a very difficult matchup for demons, and then now with their new codex and new options, you're looking at really an even worse matchup for the demon player. That's a tough. Any dedicated shooting, especially when they are also fast. So Tau.
Yep.
When you have to get to them and they're in the back, it's just you probably don't make it there. It feels really. It's an uphill battle the whole time. And unless you are very, very experienced, and even if you are, more often than not, that is a very difficult game to play. It's not unwinnable, but it's tough.
Yeah. Okay. If I had to make a recommendation for anybody, 2 armies that are just good always into, specifically right now. Number 1, tactical orcs. They see things, they shoot things, and they die. And they see things, they charge things, and they also die. So I think orcs play pretty much the games Demon want to play most of the time from like a combat perspective. And then, of course, I will always be a celebrator of Space Marines. Space Marines have a million different gun profiles that can meet just about any meta when it comes down to it. They may not have the best data sheets, but they have a collection of good, well-rounded data sheets. So,
right. Which is why even at their worst, I think we'll pretty much always see Space Marines just existing in the middle tables, even when they're bad, because they just have the ability to do whatever they need.
Yeah, and you'll always have players like John and Innes that are just so good at the game, and then they take these bonkers lists like John's current Stormlance list and just crush with it. And you're just like, okay, I don't know how you did it. And I watched everything you did, and I still don't understand what you did. I'm like, okay. Okay. Any other army you want to bring up about dealing with demons?
I don't think. If I've missed one, I've missed one. That is going to happen. So I'm not super duper worried about it.
Great. All right. Well, let's jump into segment number 2. I'm going to start us off with Little Whinging. It's a Harry Potter reference for all of you out there, and a UK reference in general, because whinging is whining. And I'm going to whine about Ultramarines because I believe that they're going to get slapped the teeth out of. Calgar is going to go up in points. Probably Gilliman will go up in points again. If they don't go up in points, then Ultramarines are going to lose access to +1 to wound, which is fair if it happens. I totally understand that it's fine, but they are, the poster boys, the Codex compliant Marines, and I don't think there's a problem with them being strong, but I do recognize that they might be a little too strong right now. And maybe, just maybe, not being forced into playing Ultramarines every game because of how good they are is a healthy thing for me in the game itself.
I definitely agree with that. I would like to see a little bit more variety, right? We talked last week about how there were, 4 Space Marines in the top 8 of LVO, and they were all different lists, and that's fantastic. But I would like to see more variety in chapters as well as just lists.
I agree.
That these people, the diehard Salamanders players can show up with their Salamanders models and not call them Ultramarines.
Yeah. I want them to nerf like Bloodless Angels and all that shit. Like, I don't want to see Dark Angels, Blood Angels, like any of the Specialist Marine factions with the access to +1 to wound, even if they're taking not taking any of their cool data sheets, like let the vanilla chapters or the compliant chapters have something. They only have the 1 or 2 characters,
Sure.
But don't let the Blood Angels run around with lag as well as +1 to wound. Like, come on. It's obnoxious that exists. So maybe less whinging and just being annoyed. But my final whinge, of course, is Vindicators. Vindicators are so cool. I love playing Vindicators. I have 3 of them. I love putting them on the table. And they're going to be cost prohibitive in March. I almost guarantee it. So
I do. Yeah, they're going to get an increase. I do hope very strongly that it is not to the unplayable, because they are at the moment unbelievably cheap.
175 points. Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's not unbelievably cheap.
No, I think they're not.
But they are very cheap.
They're cheap, yeah.
They're very cheap. But I do still think that they're cool, and I think that they are a piece that Space Marines should have, and I don't want to see it pointed out of usefulness, but I don't necessarily want to see 3 of them all the time. I at least want you to have to think about it if it's worth you taking 3 or not,
Yeah. Just, it's almost the same treatment that the Deathwing Knights got. Like, 15 is miserable for everybody. So, but bring 10 for, standing strong in the center of the table.
Sure.
If you're playing Dark Angels, which you want to talk about faction abandonment. Dark Angels are, I believe, the army on the bottom currently.
On like the most bottom of the game?
The most bottom of the game, yes. They have a really good detachment right now, oddly enough, and we'll talk about it here in a second.
Which is, I mean, honestly, hilarious because it used to be Deathwatch, but they're good.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Deathwatch just won LVO. Do you have any whinging to do?
Oh, I do. It's a little bit.
Okay.
It's just a small piece for the I'm not going to say modeler because I hate building, but the I guess army builder in me, that as I look at wanting to like dive deeper into Tau and look at specifically the auxiliary cadre that I think is really good. And I look at these units and it just makes me really sad because we just got all these new, very cool Kroot and specifically Krootox units. And they've given me the ability to take the Krootox Rider, so the guy with the gun. They've given me the ability to take him in a unit of 1 or up to 3. But he gets sold as 1, which I get it. They've done that with other units, but they then went and rewarded you unbelievably well for taking 3 of them.
So what do
And
you mean?
so
So
it's
what's the point? What like what's the
yeah.
reward here?
So you get one dude for 40 points, which isn't terrible. They're T6 with I think 5 wounds. So it's not bad. It's one dude for 40 points. And so you assume 3 dudes for 120 points.
Yeah,
But
that makes sense.
it's not. It's 3 dudes for 90 points,
Oh,
which just
so
doesn't make sense. You buy the second dude and then you spend 10 extra points and you've got a third one.
so how much does each dude cost?
So each individual dude is $45.
Oh, so it's Croup Mech.
So it's $135
Okay,
for 90 points.
that's absurd.
And I have AdMech friends.
Yep.
Lord bless them. And I don't know the current dollar to point ratio that chickens are, but I know it's always been bad. I have a suspicion that 3 Croup riders might be the worst dollar to point ratio right now. It's at $135 for 90 points.
So it's like a buck, what, 30 a point?
It's pretty bad.
That's crazy. That is unfortunate.
It's a dollar.
Okay.
It is $1.50. It is a full $1.50.
That's so terrible. Oh no. Well, you know what?
It's crazy.
Nobody likes Tau players anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, I get that a lot, but maybe they shouldn't have made all these new Croup models so cool.
They are. Look, as much shit as I'll talk, like those new Croup models, I looked at Tau and was like, I could play that army. That'd be cool. Because those little BCs, remember Small Soldiers? You ever see that as a kid?
Oh my god, yeah.
They look like the aliens in that movie, the toy aliens.
A little bit.
Those things were so cool. But yeah,
they're great.
Yeah, they're so cool. Okay. That is a good and proper whinge because that is objectively stupid. Excellent. All right. Let's now. I have one more thing to bring up, and that is this segment is "Let Your Memes Be Dreams," which is, of course, a very common list name in the world of Warhammer 40K. And in this segment, we talk about a list that we want to play, and something that I have been wanting to play for a minute now, ever since LVO, where I saw John Camacho there, and he was playing a list of like 20-something bikes, all Outriders, and then the Dark Angels bikes, some speeders, some characters. And I played that on TTS the other day, and it was super fun. I did lose with it, but like it wasn't a dominant like defeat either.
Sure.
And I just played dumb. Like I just ran my bikes down the middle. I didn't bring anything off the board edge. Like it was very much just go, push the gas, head hit keyboard, right? And it was fun. So after that, I started really looking at Company of Hunters. And let me just explain the detachment rules here, guys. So we all know fast gun good, right? Like as a common rule amongst Warhammer players, fast gun good is pretty much at the top. So number one, you could advance or fall back with any Space Marine unit and still shoot. So you are always in Devastator Doctrine. Okay, awesome.
Sure.
If you're a mounted unit, so you're riding a bike of some kind or driving an ATV around, then you get advance, shoot, and charge, or fall back, shoot, and charge, regardless. With the changes to the Outrider, which gives you your additional strength and AP, I think, on charge, that makes you even better. Now, is Company of Hunters as good as Stormlance? It's up in the air. Stormlance has better stratagems, but
sure.
And you can play, ultramarines or something compliant for the +1 to wound for the better oath. But this detachment has access to +1 to wound in both shooting and melee anyway for 1 CP. So you don't necessarily need that bonus either if you're more focused with your attacks. So what did I do in terms of this list and how I approached it? So instead of going with that many bikes, I decided to go with, I'll just kind of go down the list. Azrael for the extra CP because that's just really good. I partnered him up with a pack of company heroes because that's just a really good unit. I have a chaplain on bike and a Samael. Now, the chaplain is actually set up with the 6-man of Outriders with an ATV. Samael is set up with a 3-man with an ATV because that unit slaps and it can get around really easily. I just have to build a Samael, I suppose. I have a lieutenant with combi weapon, and then I have just a unit of 3 Outriders. No ATV attached. The ATV is good because of 8 ablative wounds, but you'll see what I did different. And then I went into kind of the standard kind of Space Marine setup right now, the 2-up save build, which is a couple of Ballista Dreadnoughts. I added 2 Vindicators and a Reaper. And like that is your list of tanks that most people bring in most lists right now, just because Reaper deals the infantry, the extra, the sustain 2, the twin link. It's just awesome. But the changes I made was that I dropped a scout squad, I kept the an infiltrator squad, and I added the Dark Shroud because of what you said. It does make sense. Because then it keeps those Vindicators hella safe. -1 to hit. Always, it's just wonderful, and I think it gives cover too, right? It's a stealth aura.
I think so.
Like that. Anyway, this list is designed so where you have Outriders that are battle line because that's what Company of Hunters gives. You have 1 really nasty big unit to go deal with a bulk of stuff, and then you have 1 small like surgical unit with Samael that could just go and smoke something. And then you have all of the mid to long range shooting you really need to keep your back line and mid board fairly safe. And you just clog up the board with those bikes and do a pretty considerable amount of work. Is it a perfect list? I don't know. It probably lacks some amount of scoring. But this is something that I want to play. It looks really fun and interesting. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's awesome. I liked it already. We talked about it a little bit, and I did suggest the Dark Shroud, and I think that's a fantastic inclusion. I think, yeah, I mean, you still have the pieces that you want. You know, you've got the infiltrators to protect your home objective and the corner that it exists in, and then you've got your Vindicators and your Ballistas for shooting. You've got your combi lieutenant because it's just good.
And more battle line I've had in any Space Marine list this edition.
Yes, more battle line than I have. Yeah, I've ever seen you with, and I've seen most non-Black Templars with. Like it's a considerable amount of battle line that is higher toughness, more wound, and as we already discussed, importantly, not infantry.
Not infantry.
So, I mean, just like you said, is it perfect? No, probably not.
Needs some tweaks. Yeah.
Is it lacking something? Maybe. And we've just got to play it to figure it out. But is it cool? Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds so fun to play. And then weirdly, even with Dark Angels coming in extremely low on like the overall win rate, Company of Hunters as a detachment, which doesn't have a ton of games behind it, has an extremely high win rate in and of itself at 66% because fast gun good, especially with a low player base, you can do work.
Yeah, because I mean that's showing us that it's essentially just good players that are playing it because anybody else plays it and goes, this isn't good, and they move on. So I think it's cool. I think it definitely has. Thanks. It definitely holds potential. I don't look at it and just go, "Nah, this sucks. Why don't you do something completely different?"
Right. That's always a fun conversation. What do you think? Nah.
Yeah. Have you thought about a different army? Like, that's
I've
never
heard
fun.
better.
So
Okay. What about you? Do you have a fun list you can talk about today?
I do. It is what I am currently painting. I think it's super cool. I don't think it's horrible. It very well might be a meme, but that's why we're here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm looking at Imperial Guard,
Mm-hmm.
Astra Militarum, as it were, and I'm looking at the Hammer of the Emperor detachment. So it's all the tanks, all of your squadron
Yeah.
units. All your squadron units don't advance or don't roll advances. They auto advance 6.
Okay.
And when they advance, they can move through engagement range as long as they don't end in it.
Okay.
It's cool. It's fine. It's good. It is. It's just, I think, if I were to guess, I would say probably 75% of your games, it's not going to matter. But that 25% that it matters, it's going to matter a lot.
Okay.
It is a very strong rule. I think it just doesn't come up very often.
No.
But it's got 6 great strats.
Yep.
So
That it does.
that's hard. That's hard to get around. You know, we've got advance and shoot. We have fallback and shoot as 2 different stratagems. So you can do whatever you want. We've got -1 damage. We've got move through walls. We've got really, honestly, I think every tool that a tank themed army would want, it has.
Good.
So what we're looking at here is actually at the moment 1980, because I haven't figured out which enhancement I want yet.
Okay.
But we've got Gaunt's Ghosts because they're fantastic, and I don't think I will build a list without them.
Okay. Makes sense.
We have Ursula Creed for pretty much the same reason.
Yeah.
CP is good.
Orders, yeah. Good stuff.
Orders, CP, just good. We have Sly Marbo because he's the best.
The best. Anything based off Sylvester Stallone, you know? Come on.
He's so cool. And he had good rules already, and they didn't really change, so his rules are still good. He got cheaper. He's a very good unit.
Good. Yeah.
And we have 2 Lehman Russ commanders. I don't like the Rogaldorn commander.
Okay.
Shock, gasp.
Look
Everybody sit back down.
Meta.
Calm down. I don't like them. I don't think they're worth it. You lose the blanket damage. And while, yes, they do have a super strong defensive profile, losing 0 damage and gaining a single hit, single wound, and damage reroll, I don't see being worth 25 points. And especially when 90% of your weapons have fixed damage profiles anyway.
Oh.
So it just feels weird. It's good.
It does. Yeah,
but I would prefer to spend 25 less points, have less characters in my army, and be able to say that I have 18 wounds and 0 damage.
That is good.
That just feels better to me. So we have 2 Demolisher Lehman Russ commanders.
Excellent.
We've got Acadian Shock Troop unit. Just 1 gives, Ursula some extra wounds, gives me a battle line. They have sticky. They're good.
Yeah.
We have the previously discussed 2 Rogaldorn battle tanks with
the big boys,
oppressor cannons and coaxial autocannons and pulverizer cannons. So more damage 3 than any one unit should probably ever have.
Yep.
We've got 2 Scout Sentinels because they are still fantastic.
Just incredible unit. Yep.
Just incredible unit. We have 2 Scion units for deep striking and doing actions, or sometimes just deep striking and shooting. They can do a surprising amount of damage for 65 points.
Because undercosted and too good.
Hey, they went up. They did. They
5
got more
points?
expensive.
5
Yeah,
points?
yeah.
That unit should
So,
cost 100. Ugh.
oh, relax. 100 is a bit much. 65 might be too cheap, but 100's a bit much.
All right. 80.
All right. So then to round it out for a hefty 495 points, we have the Storm Sword, the coolest Baneblade chassis tank.
Yep. Why is that?
So,
why is it the coolest? What does it do?
I will preface, it does not have the squadron keyword, so it does not get orders.
Sad.
Which does make me sad. It is Titanic, so it can't Overwatch, which also makes me sad. However, 2 of our stratagems, importantly being -1 damage and moving through walls, only target vehicles and don't target squadrons.
Okay.
So you can give it -1 damage, or you can move it through a wall, which is great.
That is good. Can your Tech Marines give it a 4-up invuln still?
I think so. Let me actually look at that really, really quickly.
Because I feel like if you're bringing that guy, he should always have a 4-up invuln.
That could be very interesting. It sure does. He does. He says Astra Militarum vehicle.
Then you should probably have one of those.
Well, I guess I'm buying or building a Tech Priest and then moving some points around. We'll figure it out.
Just pitch a Scion into the sun, right?
Yeah,
right?
So I'm probably well, no. But we're going to find a way to probably get a Tech Marine in here.
Yeah, there you go.
That seems pretty good. Anywho, So you've got, on their stat profile, you've got 12-inch move, toughness 13, which almost doesn't exist anymore.
Nope.
A 2-up save with 24 wounds and OC 8.
All right.
This bad boy gets 4 las cannons, which is cool. It gets 5 twin heavy bolters, so 5 twin-linked heavy bolters.
And each of them, do they all have a number of shots, or is it 5 total shots that are twin-linked?
It's 5 of them, so they're 3 shots apiece. So it's 15 heavy bolter shots.
Disgusting. Okay.
Dude, it's so cool, which it just makes me sad that they can't Overwatch, but that's fine. I'm not going to complain.
No, you shouldn't.
We did that already.
Yeah, we win.
Then it has the Storm Sword Siege Cannon, which is blast and ignore cover.
Beautiful.
Ignore cover, I guess, is cute. It's 48-inch range, which is good enough to keep yourself safe.
Yep.
Hits on 4s. It's going to stay that way. Doesn't get orders. That's fine. What it does actually benefit from is the Scout Sentinels reroll 1s to hit. So at least it's 4s rerolling 1s.
Mm-hmm.
It's strength 16.
Gross.
So it's wounding everything that's not -1 on at least a 3.
Yep.
It's AP 4, which makes ignore cover a little suspect.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna question it.
I mean, you wound Land Raiders on 6s, right? That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then it's D6 plus 2 damage.
That's so good. That's so strong.
Quite good. Its special ability, because all of the Baneblade chassis have a different special ability. It is concussive wave. So in the shooting phase, after you select your target for the Storm Sword Siege Cannon, so you can split your shots, everything else can go somewhere else, but you're getting this ability based off of the Siege Cannon, and you're going to roll a d6 for your target unit, and every unit that is within 3 inches of the target. And then on a 5-up, the unit that's being rolled for is struck by a concussive wave. After you finish making your attacks, every unit that was struck by a concussive wave takes D3 mortal wounds.
That is so fun.
It's so fun, right? So even your little dudes that let's say the Eldar matchup, if you see the spirit conclave, and they have their spirits here standing next to their wraith lord, and he's got lone op. They importantly still only have 3 wounds. So if you happen to roll a 5-up and then roll another 5-up on the damage, you can just kill a spirit seer, which is really cool.
That is incredible.
But it also just punishes people for castling, and for a lot of people, I think it can like kind of not, I don't want to say trick, because it is still a good ability that can hurt them severely.
Yeah.
But it can kind of like persuade people into not castling when that's what their army needs to do, and it puts them on the back foot before you even start the game, which is really cool.
That is really cool. Okay. You know what sounds really fun to point that cannon into, though?
What's that?
Any pack of Tau battle suits of like, you know, a 3-man or whatever, and you just absolutely demolish it. They are generally like fairly resilient, right, with their 6 wounds or whatever.
Sure.
I just like, as you were explaining that profile, I just had this little fever dream of doing it, because I was raised on Tau. Like that's how I was introduced to the game, was fighting Tau in 9th edition for a whole year. And boy, oh boy, was 6 battle suits the worst thing in the world to have to deal with.
It's so fun. Yeah, it's funny. And I mean, you know, good news is that 6 don't exist anymore, but 3 can still kill a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so cool to go like, okay, here's the damage. Okay, cool. You failed. Let's say you failed 3. So I'm going to roll my damage now. And we go, okay, 7 damage kills a suit.
Yep.
6 damage kills a suit.
Yep.
4 damage. Damn it. I didn't kill a suit.
Right.
But I did roll a 5-up before. So now we're going to roll some mortal wounds.
Concussive wave.
And we go, oh man, 2 more mortal wounds. I guess you're dead now.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
That is so much fun, man. So do you think you'll have this list ready to go come the RTT coming up?
I should. Everything as of today, everything is at least base coded.
Yep.
And it's tanks. It's not hard to get them battle ready.
No,
they're not going to be where I want them to be, but they're going to give me my points. So
that's
I've got, right? It's looking at the Storm Surge, the Scions, 1 Rogaldorn, 1 Commander, and Slime Arbo are base coded. Everything else is painted.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it's not too hard. It's not too hard.
Yeah, you got
so I think we should be able to. And I've already talked to Sean up at Gamers Haven, and they are allowing the codex, so I can legally play this list on the 1st.
That's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
So
yeah, that'll be super fun to play.
We'll see what happens. Maybe it's awful. I'll find out.
Hey, we'll see. Maybe the Storm Sword isn't perfect, right?
Maybe.
But
it's cool.
But it's going to be your list. It's going to be fun. And that's what matters the most.
Yeah.
Right? We play Warhammer 40K to have fun.
That's it.
Yep.
Sometimes we win, and sometimes all we want to do is win, but it should still just be fun.
Yeah. Let's enjoy ourselves. And I think that's, you know what, that we'll go ahead and wrap up the episode on that note, on letting memes be dreams. We're going to take lists. I don't have a Dark Shroud, so I'm probably just going to have to play a different variation of the list. But I will also bring my meme list with me, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, you'll just have to go back to the scouts, right?
Yeah, we can always do more stuff, and it'll be fun.
Yeah. So
with that, do you have any parting wisdom? Anything that you'd like to give the audience before we bid them adieu?
No, I mean, I think that's it. I think we're good. I do just want to remind everybody, I will encourage you to go check out my friends over at The Best Wargaming and watch their/my tier list of the Eldar Codex, and you can look at the plethora of other content that they have produced in the past couple of months. They've just recently started their channel, so make sure you guys go over there and give them some love.
Absolutely. And then you can always find me over on TikTok at allday40k. Otherwise, thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate your ears. We got it down 20 minutes this time around, and hopefully you enjoyed us
little
for this
improvements.
long.
That's what we need.
Yeah, just going to keep getting a little bit more efficient every time. All right, buddy. Well, thanks for being here. I will catch you next week, and we'll talk about something hopefully as interesting, if not more, than Deamons.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, guys. See you around the next time. This has been the YAWP.
See ya.